What a weird show. What a absolutely bizarre, weird show I have literally come straight hot off the presses watching. And that is Fate's Apocrypha, as this is a show that, like, came out last year that was like, alright, I actually want to check this out, and then I just never watched any of it. I only heard things about it, very mixed things, to like some high regarding stuff, to some really bad stuff, and I was like, you know what, it's on Netflix, I'm a marathon the 25 episodes, get that done in like 2 days, 3 days or so through this, and this isn't going to be a review in any way of sense of this at all for this show, because A, there's not so much to go into with this show, even though it's 25 episodes. 2, as well, like, how I feel about it is so jarring. It's like, I mainly want to just point out a couple of things about this show, and I guess more saying, like, a little final thoughts to, like, should you kind of watch this or not, because my overall final take from this series is that, wow, this is a show wearing a Fate-themed skin, but what it does do right, it does it really strong. Now, for a little context about like how I am like related to the sort of the Fate stuff, I watched the original Fate's Day Night, which I from the Studio Dean version, which I really did enjoy, also as well Unlimited Blade Works, and Fate Zero, which by the way is, if anything, on my top 10 of anime, period. I fucking love Fate Zero. It is such an amazing show, and I cannot recommend it enough for people and all that. Like, definitely, like, you get through the 1 week episode of that show because it's a massive plot dump for everything that you need to know, and it is kind of necessary. It's the first one, which is like an hour long, but it's necessary, so you get that in there. This show is weird at like how it was being built up to. It's like this greater grail where it's like you have 7 masters and servants on one side and another 7 on the other, where it's like red versus black, and it's like every side has their own. It's like between 2 factions of like the Mage Association and the Millennia, that weird ass like kind of like Romanian group, and it's like, okay, this show is setting something up, like up here where it's like, this is the first time where, like, instead of like it's like 7 people are going at each other trying to become the last one to win, it's like, no, this is a faction this time, 2 factions going against each other who are pitting themselves up. And it's like, the one thing this show does, which doesn't do very well, is it doesn't like to explain a lot of things. So like, it's like, okay, what really is that? No, shut up though. Why is a system like this in place though? No, shut up. It's all excuses to have big, dumb battle scenes. Even with like most of the characters, they don't spend too much time developing them. They're really kind of one note, some of them, like especially on the Millennia side, which is like, from what you see from this, it's like you get mainly like, from the first early episodes, it doesn't take place with our main character, technically Sieg, but it's more, at first it was being more treated of like half and half, where it's like you're going to be spending time with like Saber of Red and her master when you send a little of them, and then when we get to Sieg, who is technically our main character, Homunculus, he is probably the weakest part of the show to me, because he is really fucking bland, and he has 1 or 2 decent little moments to kind of help him with his character, but generally I felt like he was the weakest part of the show, and it was like, no, like, he's your main fucking protagonist, like, that you generally get, and it's like, him, like, John d'Arc was very, like, was a character I was so excited for. Like, I was like, we see a bit of her in Fate Zero, like, every time I've kind of seen little snippets and all that, I was like, huh, this character actually really interests me, and like, and the whole fact that this is the series which has introduced a new class in this series to me, which I didn't really know too much going into it, which is the Ruler class, where it's like, no, they are the end-all be-alls, and for giant situations like this happening, they need to have one of these in here as like kind of the rule association. But 1, She does a fucking job terribly. She is not one-sided. She is like at all. Like she is like she completely gets involved with a ton of shit. Like once you find out, she has reasons later on, but it's like before any of that is brought up, she's very fucking hypocritical of a lot of this shit, and sort of how she acts like she's completely different. And this is the thing, like, I know I'm harping on this show for like 5 minutes, like, and I want to get all of this out first before I mention about what the stuff I love about this show, but it's like, there's a lot of nitpicks with this show, and it's a lot to do with how certain characters act, and some of them do, and it's like, yeah, it's like when more the people that you are supposed to be either our main focus or even our main villains, you're like, huh, that's kind of dumb in a way. And it's like, oh, why would you do that? And it's like, basically more of that going on. However, though, one thing, as I was completely shocked on that, as this being an A1 production on there, is the show is fucking gorgeous. It is absolutely stunning in places. There's a couple of one or two episodes where it's like, oof, they are really saving on some budget on there. But this show is just a giant excuse to have fight scene upon fight scene upon fight scene. And yes, the show has some really great choreography. There's some really good direction at some points, and actually, even with some of these flat characters, made me care a little bit through some of the stuff on there, and sometimes with their little tiny bits, little snippets of backstories. Although it was more the servants I cared about than any of the masters at all, with the exception of like Red Saber or Mordred, who is just enough is fucking said is that Mordred is the fucking best character out of the entire show. She was the one I was completely taken aback by, where I was like, holy shit, I love this character so much. I love everything about her. She was what I kind of wanted from like I kind of wanted like, I guess my expectations of John, because like we saw a little bit of her in Zero, and I don't know, I was kind of expecting her to be more of a dominance force and like being, I don't know, a little bit more like kind of like a little bit more badass on there. But no, Mordred like fit every single one of those aspects, like, and what like her story with her master and all that. I loved their relationship through start to finish. I thought that was a great part, and I kind of was hoping that it was more focusing on them throughout the entire time. There was a couple of good other servants in there as well. I'm sure a lot of people know, like Astafolo, Lancer Black. At first, I was like, I had no idea what the fuck to think of this character. This character is just weird in concept alone. But then, actually had some funny moments, and it was like harmless. I was like, you know what? Sure, this character's fine on there. There was a Frankenstein was fine for the most part from there for being Berserker. Like a few of them were decent on there. Like I definitely liked a few of them, but it's like the casters on both sides were fucking weak. Like the I believe it was like the Black Berserker, or maybe it was the Red one. I believe one of the others and all that. The one that had like Spartacus, he was weak as fuck. Like he had no personality going into it. Like I believe it was the Archer of Black, and also as well the I believe it was, it was the Archer of Red and Lancer of Red that actually were pretty interesting as well. Like, I kind of like them. They had quite a bit of time on them, and like those characters were fine. But then again, it's like nothing like completely like breaking any like kind of like new material or anything. And like I said, this show is only like accelerate up due to the fact of some of its production values, some of its composition, and definitely some of this music as well. However, I fucking do not like that first episode opening, or when that was like the first course opening at all. That was fucking bad. I did not like the first opening whatsoever. Every time I had the chance on Netflix, I click skip, get that out of my face. I don't want none of that. The second opening, however, though, is awesome. I listened to it every time, and it was a great ass song. Now, more the reason after coming off hot of this is because episode 22, and I mean this fully, episode 22 is probably, if not, one of the best animated episodes out of the TV series I've ever seen. That is Sakuga throughout the entire episode. It is flourished with gorgeousness. Like from second one, you see just insane amounts of animation going through it. It is absolutely gorgeous. You get to see 2 fight scenes, and it was stunning from start to finish. Like, having that entire fight with like Sig and Lancer like clashing at each other, and then you had Archer and like also the other Lancer going at each other, like, and like also as well it was a little bit of like a John d'Arc versus Archer. It was all over the place. It was like 3 fights at once, and every single one of them were insane. Like, the show had moments where like, oh my god, this is actually very well like done and all that, and it was like this episode just comes around. I remember hearing though, I was like, I knew there was one episode in the 20s where like it was the one thing like everyone just mentioned at once, like to me when it was like the show was airing. It was like, you need to watch at least this episode because holy shit. And it was like generally it's something where it's like you just need to watch that episode and be like, holy shit, they went fully out on this episode. It like takes everything bad against the show that I've ever had with it. It's like, yeah, but it's just a giant AMV at the end. Like, it's where a Fate show for a lot of the time is like, I like to have like when it comes to the Fate series and all that, and I know obviously this being a spin-off, but it kind of I know it's not canon in any way. I know like it's a spin-off, like I know it's a light novel series, and it's like I would have loved if it actually had a lot more of a deeper story. I would have loved if some of the characters I generally cared for a little bit about more, but like overall it's just like, this is a show that's wearing the Fate skin, but when it wants to kind of showcase like, no, let us show you what we can do, some cool shit with these characters and some like decent ideas, I'm like, sure, why not? Like, I guess it's just the question is that if this show should have just been called something else though, or it's like the same thing with like the light novel like adaptation when it was coming out. It's like, yeah, maybe this should have been something else because it really doesn't feel like Fate at some points, but overall, like, it's like, yeah, no, I thoroughly, enjoyed the show's fights. They were always the, like, standout thing next to the music, where I was like, no, they picked really great fucking songs to go in there. This is just a 25 episode AMV for the most part. If you want fights, you have come to get them. When it goes to story bullshit, you just turn your fucking brain off, because I don't think I could have watched this show like once a week. I generally don't think I could have done that. However though, binging it in like 2 days though is great. It is like generally something on there. And it's like, this will be a show where it's like, I will never remember most of these characters, and it's like, there was some weird shit going on there. Some characters started mentioning Heaven's Feel, and I was like, what the fuck? I know that's the third like path of like the original visual novel. I'm like, okay, I'm probably getting to spoiler territory real bad here from that for that path. So I guess I know some stuff going on into that visual novel. It has really made me want to see more Fate stuff, like, and more Fate characters, because I know obviously with Grand Order, and then there's like Ataxia, like there's like with Apocrypha, there's like other stuff in there. I know there's a lot of people have like praised the Fate Khalid show as well, which I mean, I tried giving that original first series a shot, and it just wasn't really for me, but I might try and get back into that because I've heard some really amazing things from that. Like, there's a bunch of good bits from Fate wherever you take it. However, it's still, even after watching this show, where I'm like, holy shit, that fucking fight was cool. Like, again, it's like I come more for the characters, and I kind of appreciate that. Like, even my favorite character in this series, like Mordred, who is heavily connected to Saber, like the Saber from Fate Stay Night, and I'm like, that's interesting with that whole background. And that's probably why a lot more I liked Mordred as well, is because it's like, no, this character's got relation to a character I already know, and it's like, that's the thing, it's kind of riding a little bit on the coattails on there, and it's like, I like the show, like, at the end of the day, it's like, did it, like, I still feel like it's an action show that just had the Fate skin, and that's both a good thing and a bad thing, because, like, hey, you can have some fun with, like, some of these historical characters and, like, do some weird, goofy shit with them, but, like, some of them were like, you were there to exist and just to fight, why not, like, sure. Like, generally, I felt like the weakest parts and all that were probably there were some very slow episodes into like the 16s, 18s, like around about that point, like that, like the show just stopped for a while, like the battles, and it was like, no, let's focus a little bit more on like Jack the Ripper a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, sure, like the character was weird and creepy, but it was like, no, let's just try and find her for a little bit. I'm like, sure, whatever, and then it was like, no, let's have some family issues as well, and like, it really felt like even after like 22, I can tell from there, because it's like, at the end of the day, that was concluding like 3 fights at once. Like, the show had a pacing issue around about like the third I'd say like the third quarter of the series. Like, it had a pacing issue at the end where I was like, no, let's wrap this up, let's get this out of here, let's try and get this in. And I feel like it's a show where it's like, it like 25 episodes like couldn't clearly adapt maybe everything that the light novel had, and maybe that might have been some of my issues with it, where it's like they cut this scene, they cut some of this stuff from there, and I'm pretty sure most of it's still more of the source material's problems, as they probably don't go into a lot of the stuff, but you can tell that they're fucking blitzing through shit at some points of the third quarter. It's just like, yeah, no, we need to get this out of the way, just do it now. We are tired of this shit. Just push it out there. I would say it's probably the best anime thing that like A1's done. Like, I can definitely say that, and that's coming from like some of the really gorgeous shit they've done with probably SAO, some of their stuff, the original Fairy Tail Season 1 going into there. Obviously, A1's done a couple of other shows on there, but A1's never been a studio that has been very fucking good with stories. Like, I feel like they pick stories that they're just like, yeah, no, we want to adapt this, and this seems like a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, like, these series and all that, like, a lot of the time, as long as I'm entertained, that's all that fucking matters to me. It just depends what kind of entertainment I want. Do I want a compelling story sometimes? Well, I'll go to Zero. Like, and like, do I want some very well written characters? I'll go to Zero. Do I just want dumb fucking action? Then I'll go to Apocrypha. Like, I'll just go there. But yeah, at the end it's like, yeah, but you will have to go through a couple of dumb the thing is, if I could split up like this show in like 2 parts, like if I gave it from like a story perception, like part of it, it's like the show would be a 5, like to a 6. But if I gave it to like animation, sound, like that's a 9, smoke and stick style, like near 10 at some points. There was I will say there was 1 or 2 episodes that was like, oof, yeah, no, you are saving your precious animators at that point. So it's not a perfect score, and plus I will say, even though I'm praising its art and animation, where it's like, no, this stuff is absolutely gorgeous, like that, I do say, where like I do specifically say episode 22 is probably one of the best animated TV animes, not of the movies. Mind you, I still think there are better animated shows, period. Like, Made in Abyss is just gorgeous from start to finish. You have, like, A Place Further Than Universe. Like, you have a bunch of shows on there. I'm just specifically pointing, if you just want gorgeous fight scene to gorgeous fight scene to, like, just even simple movements, 22 just has it all. It's like, oh my god, the money, the talent that's going into this episode. I really just cannot, like, just put in, like, because it's so fresh in my head. It's like, no, 22 is just really fucking good. It's just really, really fucking good. I rewatched it, like, again, or like, after this, like, before, like, the whole fresh, like, recording. I was like, I want to just watch that again just to get everything, in case I miss some shots or something. And it's like, oh no, I absorbed it all, even throughout, like, how fast it was all going. It's like, no, that's just awesome. So, at the end of the day, would I recommend Apocrypha? I mean, if you're a die-hard Fate fan, you've probably already watched it. It's probably not what, like, people who... If you loved Stay Night and if you love Zero, like, then I don't know whether or not I can recommend it to you, but I do want like an action show that just wants reasons to fucking punching each other with some, like, 1 or 2 decent characters here. Like, I'm still saying Mordra's best girl. Just fucking end the discussion right there. Like, I know, so there'll be some Astafolo defenders in there. Sure, you have your weird trap prince. Do whatever you want with that. But no, Mordra's best girl. Just fucking saying that's the end of that discussion. Fight me on that. It's a fun show. it is a fun show. I just wish it wouldn't take itself seriously, because I feel like that's its biggest detriment, is that it tries really hard to be this serious big thing, and I couldn't take it seriously at all through most of its plot points. And if anything, I would remove Sieg throughout most of the story. Like, generally when the second I saw him getting out that tube, I was like, main protagonist, here we go. Oh boy, I hope they do something with him, because you can tell by the brown hair and the way he fucking talks. It's like, yeah, that's main protagonist, man. No, we couldn't have cool smoker like a necromance dude, and we couldn't have fucking Mordred. They couldn't be the main characters. No, God forbid. No, that would be interesting. That would be cool. No, fuck that. Although they get quite nice a bit of screen time. It's like, I wanted them. I wanted to see them, or some other characters. But yeah, no. I'd say if you're not committed to watch 25 episodes, then just watch some AMVs or something. Like, at the end of the day, I had fun. Definitely binge the show. Don't watch it one episode a week or something like that. I couldn't do that with this show. I would have dropped it by then. So, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this just weird random... I might do this for other shows. If I just, like, watch and binge shows, as, like, Netflix has got a ton of anime series on there, and just a ton of shows in general that I've been curious about, then I might just do that. Like, I've been doing that with a lot of shows recently, so it's like, why not? Might as well just find a place like there to talk about them. So, that's all from me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys, though, next time.